Rain whispered against the windshield, each drop a ticking reminder that time was running out. The message still glowed on the phone screen. "I'm fine." 2 words, weightless and final, suspended in the hum of static between midnight and nowhere. The road ahead stretched like an open wound, slicing through the darkness as headlights carved ghosts into the mist. Somewhere beyond that veil of rain, she was gone, leaving behind a silence too loud to ignore. The sea howled beyond the cliffs, its breath thick with salt and sorrow, as if the waves themselves remembered her name. He tightened his grip on the steering wheel, replaying her voice in the hollow spaces of his mind, searching for meaning in the lie she left behind. Because no one who's fine vanishes into the storm. Morning breaks like an apology, pale, cold, and unconvincing. The storm has passed, leaving behind a film of silence that feels heavier than thunder. Evan stands by the railing overlooking the cliffs, his breath fogging the air as waves grind against the rocks below. He replays the night in fragments, the text, the voice in the rain, the figure that wasn't there. Behind him, the coastal town awakens without noticing her absence, its windows glowing softly in denial. The sea keeps its secrets, rolling them deeper into its dark lungs. Somewhere between the horizon and the tide, the truth waits, patient, unmoved, and watching him back. The motel hadn't changed. Same flickering sign, same rust-stained walls, same silence pressing against the windows. Room 12 still smelled of her perfume, faint and ghostly, as if time itself had refused to move on. Her bag was there, her coffee cup half empty, her phone charger still plugged in, waiting for a ghost to return. Every object spoke, but none told the truth. The sheets were unmade, and on the mirror, a single fingerprint trailed across the fogged glass. Evan felt the room watching him, not with eyes, but with memory. He pressed play. Her voice filled the room. Not live, but recorded. A memo from days ago, her tone calm but cracked at the edges. She spoke of deadlines, of small-town stories, of not sleeping well lately, but under every word was a pulse of fear she hadn't meant to record. Evan's throat tightened as he listened again. There, beneath her breath, a whisper. A second voice, too soft to be certain. He turned the volume up until static became thunder. The whisper came again, unmistakable this time. Don't trust the light. Night returned like a verdict. Evan drove to the old pier where Lena once filmed her stories. Her tripod still chained to a lamppost, rusted by salt and time. The sea murmured below, a low, restless breath that never ceased. He held her camera in shaking hands, reviewing the footage frame by frame. Then he saw it. In the reflection of a window behind her, a man's silhouette watching from the dark. Not moving, not blinking. The tape cut to stat. The silence that followed was louder than any storm. By dawn, the town felt smaller. The kind of place that swallowed its own noise. Evan walked through streets lined with boarded windows and faded murals, each brushstroke a relic of something hopeful long gone. Every corner carried a whisper of her name, every passerby a flicker of recognition they quickly buried. He stopped at the diner they used to haunt, its windows fogged, the scent of salt and coffee hanging heavy. Somewhere between the silence and the sound of the sea, he felt it. The weight of being followed, unseen but deliberate. The town wasn't asleep, it was pretending. The police station sat like a bunker of disinterest, its paint peeling in layers of forgotten complaints. The officer behind the desk didn't look up when Evan mentioned Lena's name, just another missing person, another empty file. He repeated her words, "I'm fine," and watched them vanish into paper. But Detective Mara Ines listened differently. Her gaze was steady, the kind that had seen too much truth buried under polite lies. She promised to review the file, but her voice carried something else. Not disbelief, but caution. Evan returned to Lena's apartment by the shore, keys still hanging where she left them. The place was immaculate, too immaculate. Every photo frame faced slightly askew, as if touched recently. On her desk lay a stack of notes, ink smudged by rain or tears. One line stood out, circled twice. "The ocean doesn't forget." He stepped closer, noticing a grain of sand on the page, and beneath it, a faint, oily fingerprint. His heart pounded. Someone had been here after she was gone. At sunset, Evan walked the pier again, tracing her footsteps, trying to feel the rhythm of her last hours. The air tasted metallic, charged. He followed the sound of gulls and breaking waves until he found it. Her press badge lodged between two planks, soaked and weathered. When he picked it up, something else caught his eye. A pattern carved into the wood, barely visible. 3 intersecting circles etched with precision. He took a photo. The wind carried the sea's breath across his neck, colder now, deliberate. Back at the motel, the door to his room was open. He froze, pulse pounding in his throat. Inside, nothing was missing, but everything was moved. His camera sat on the bed, the lens cap off, recording light without reason. The television hissed on a dead channel, white static pulsing like a heartbeat. On the wall, drawn in condensation, was a shape. 3 intersecting circles. He stepped closer, the air colder than before, his breath visible. Whoever was watching him had already been here. Night wrapped the shoreline in a hush so complete it seemed the world had stopped breathing. Evan followed the path Lena once walked, her footprints long erased, but not forgot. The wind carried echoes, a woman's laughter, faint as sea foam tangled in the surf's rhythm. He lifted his recorder, letting the waves speak. The playback returned, whispers layered beneath the wind, syllables too fragmented to decipher, yet unmistakably her tone. It wasn't grief that gripped him now. It was recognition. Something of her remained here, suspended between tide and air, refusing to fade. The next morning brought fog thick enough to muffle sound itself. Evan visited the old archive building where Lena once researched her stories. Dust and decay hung like incense. Shelves bowed under forgotten files. He unearthed a box marked with her handwriting, delicate and deliberate. Inside, photographs of the shoreline, each capturing faint distortions in the mist, light bending where no object stood. Her notes beneath read, "The horizon moves when watched." He stared long, and for a fleeting instant it did. At dusk, Evan replayed the recordings taken from the beach. Between waves and static, a rhythm formed. 3 knocks, a pause, then 2. He followed it to the cliffside chapel, long abandoned, its door creaking like a sigh. Inside, candle stubs melted into puddles of wax, though no one had been there in years. He felt the hum again, beneath the floorboards, the ocean's pulse matching his heartbeat. Then a whisper brushed his ear, close and cold. "Find what I left below." Beneath the chapel lay a staircase carved into rock, narrow and slick with condensation. Evan descended, each step echoing like a heartbeat swallowed by stone. The tunnel smelled of brine and rust. At its end waited a small chamber, lined with photographs pinned to the wall. Every image of Lena, taken from distances he didn't recognize. Some were from before she vanished, others after. His breath caught. Whoever had followed her was still here, collecting echoes of her life in silence. He stumbled out to the cliffs as dawn bled into gray. The recorder still played from his pocket, and through the static her voice returned. Clear, calm, impossible. "Evan, stop looking." The wind roared, drowning everything else, but her words echoed beneath it, looping until they became the sound of the sea itself. He faced the horizon where light met water, and for a heartbeat, he swore he saw her, standing upon the waves, eyes open, waiting. Then she was gone, leaving only silence and the relentless pull of the tide. The motel room became a confessional for madness. Evan lined the walls with Lena's photographs, her notes, his own footage, searching for a pattern that made sense. But the more he connected, the more the lines blurred. Every frame he replayed shifted slightly from before. Shadows moved, clocks froze, Reflections blinked when he didn't. He tried to convince himself it was exhaustion, not her. Yet, when he froze the frame at exactly 3:17 a.m., Lena looked straight at him. Through the lens, through time, her lips forming silent words that shouldn't exist on film. He brought the footage to Detective Ines the next morning, her eyes narrowing as she leaned in. Together they watched the recording, frame by frame. The distortion wasn't random. It pulsed in rhythm, almost like a code. She slowed it further until a shape emerged within the static. The same 3 circles carved into the pier, faint but deliberate. "This wasn't filmed wrong," she murmured. "It was made this way." Evan felt the chill climb up his spine. If the footage was altered, someone had done it after she vanished. Someone still close. That night, Evan returned to the pier, replaying the same clip on his camera as he walked. The waves mirrored the rhythm of the distortion. 3 crashes. A pause. 2. He followed the sound beneath the boardwalk, flashlight trembling in his grip. There, carved into a support beam, was the symbol again, fresh and wet, as if cut minutes ago. The air thickened, every sound swallowed by the sea's low hum. Then came the voice from behind him. Not hers, not his, soft, deliberate, close enough to feel the breath. "You shouldn't have come back." He ran back to the motel, adrenaline masking the cold. But when he entered his room, everything was gone. The photos, the laptop, even her notes. The walls were bare except for one thing, a single printed frame taped to the mirror. Lena's face mid-turn, her eyes caught in motion blur. At the bottom, scrawled in black marker, were words that weren't hers, but written in his own handwriting. "Stop filming." His reflection trembled beside hers. 2 ghosts caught in the same light, neither certain which was real anymore. He tried to leave town that night, but the fog swallowed the road before he could reach the highway. The GPS flickered between locations that didn't exist. Coordinates deep in the sea. Every turn brought him back to the same intersection. The same broken streetlight humming like a warning. Finally, he stopped the car, stepping out into the dense mist. Through the veil, the lighthouse beam swept slowly across the cliffs. But in its rotation, he saw 2 lights, not one, alternating in perfect rhythm. A mirrored signal, a message meant only for him. By morning, the motel felt wrong. Air too still, silence too complete. Evan entered room 12 again, though he didn't remember unlocking the door. The smell of damp wallpaper and old coffee clung to the air. He noticed a small bubble forming on the wall behind the headboard, soft, uneven. Peeling it back revealed something hidden beneath. Paper, layered, and stuck to the plaster. Lena's handwriting emerged in faint blue ink. Curling sentences pressed into the wall itself. Her words trembled as though written in fear, yet deliberate. The first line stopped his breath. "If you're reading this, I didn't leave." The pages told pieces of a story. A journalist tracing whispers of an experiment hidden beneath the town. She'd found cameras in impossible places, static following her wherever she went. Each entry grew more frantic until her handwriting fractured, the lines twisting mid-sentence. She mentioned a tunnel beneath the cliffs, and that she wasn't alone when she found it. The final entry ended abruptly. "He doesn't need to see me anymore. He already has the footage." Evan sat frozen, the sound of dripping water marking each second that passed like a metronome of dread. He traced her notes to the edge of the cliffs where the sea met black rock. Hidden by overgrowth, he found a narrow entrance, an old storm drain leading downward. The air that drifted out was damp, cold, humming faintly like electricity buried underwater. He hesitated, then turned on his flashlight. The beam caught metal stairs leading deep below. His pulse quickened, every instinct screamed to turn back. But her voice, the one that lived in his recordings, whispered softly in memory. "You're close." Inside the tunnel, echoes replaced thought. Water dripped in rhythmic patterns, and the light from his flashlight flickered against walls marked with the same 3 circles. The deeper he moved, the stronger the signal on his recorder became a rising hum, like breath drawn in unison with his own. At the tunnel's end, a single wooden door waited, half-rotted but locked tight. Carved into it, shallow and trembling, were her initials. Beneath them, one word etched in shaking script: "Play!" He pressed his recorder against the wood, and it came alive, static surging into clarity. Lena's voice emerged, breathless yet steady. "If you found this, it means he's still recording. Don't trust what you see next?" Then, silence. The recorder crackled, replaying the same words backward, distorted and deeper, like another voice imitating hers. Evan stepped back, heart pounding as the door rattled once. Not from within, but as though something behind him had exhaled. The tunnel lights dimmed in a ripple of unseen movement. He wasn't alone. The tunnel breathed like a living thing, air shifting with each cautious step he took. Evan's flashlight flickered, revealing cables snaking along the ceiling, rusted cameras bolted into stone, eyes that had watched for years. Water dripped from unseen pipes, echoing like distant footsteps. The deeper he went, the louder the hum became, a mechanical heartbeat pulsing beneath the ocean. Then he found it, a chamber of monitors, each screen looping fragments of Lena, walking, turning, vanishing. Some clips were reversed, others mirrored, all impossibly recent. His voice cracked as he whispered into the dark. "Who's filming this now?" He found a table at the chamber's center, scattered with tapes labeled only by dates. The most recent marked yesterday. His shaking hands fed it into an old player. The screen hissed to life, static resolving into an image of the tunnel entrance, filmed from behind him. The timestamp matched the hour he'd entered. He watched himself descend, step by step, his own flashlight sweeping the same path he stood in now. Then the camera panned, slowly, toward something standing in the dark beside him. He froze, turning toward that same spot, but nothing was there. Only dripping water and the quiet sound of the tape still playing. The tape continued without his command. The image shifted, now showing Lena alive, sitting in the same chair beside the same console. Her face was pale but calm, her gaze fixed directly ahead. She whispered something he couldn't hear. The screen glitched, and for a split second her eyes flicked upward, toward him. Not at the lens, at him. The realization clawed through his chest. This wasn't playback. It was live. A faint movement rippled in the reflection on the monitor's edge, the suggestion of another camera hidden behind him, recording both of them. Now, the hum deepened until it became a vibration in his bones. Lights along the tunnel flared to life one by one, revealing side chambers filled with forgotten machinery, projectors, reels of undeveloped film. Every wall was etched with the symbol. 3 circles, overlapping endlessly, like lenses in perpetual reflection. He followed the markings to a final door, glass instead of wood. Behind it, shelves stacked with hundreds of labeled tapes. He leaned closer to read the names. His breath stopped when he reached the last one. Evan Cole, final cut. He opened the door, the stale air exhaling into the tunnel. The tape with his name waited like a loaded question. When he pressed play, the static was immediate. Then came Lena's voice, soft but certain. "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't escape." The footage showed her standing in the same tunnel, staring directly into the lens. "They record what they can't control," she said, her voice trembling. "But you can still choose what's seen." The image distorted, her face fracturing into light. Then, just before the screen went black, she whispered, "Don't let them finish your tape." The tunnel's lights dimmed one by one until only the glow of the monitor remained, pulsing like a heartbeat. Evan stood frozen, her final words echoing through the static. "Don't let them finish your tape." He reached for the recorder, but the screen flickered, showing him instead standing there now, filmed from another angle. The camera was still rolling somewhere behind him, unseen but alive. He turned, breath held, expecting darkness. Instead, a figure stepped from the haze, his own reflection walking forward, mirroring every motion. In the silence that followed, he understood what Lena meant. This place didn't record the living. It rewrote them. He stumbled backward, but the reflection advanced, deliberate, steady, unblinking. The monitors surrounding him flared to life, each one showing a different version of himself, entering the motel, finding her journal, opening the tunnel door. Every moment of his search had already been captured, edited, perfected. The hum grew into a low roar, swallowing his breath. He shouted into the noise, demanding to know who was filming. And from the nearest screen, Lena answered, not with words, but a look of sorrow so deep it silenced him. Her eyes spoke what her voice never could. You're part of the footage now. He slammed the recorder to the ground. The playback warped into a rising tone, piercing, then breaking. For a moment, everything stilled. The hum stopped. The monitors froze, and silence returned like breath after drowning. Then Lena's voice came through again, soft but different this time, free of distortion. It's not them, she said. It's us. We kept watching. The screens faded one by one, until only a single feed remained. Live footage of the ocean above, calm and endless. The camera panned down slowly, showing a small figure at the cliff's edge, his car still parked, headlights glowing. He'd never left. He climbed toward that faint light, the tunnel behind him humming faintly like memory, dissolving. The air grew warmer as he reached the surface, breaking through reeds and rock into a gray dawn. The sea stretched infinite before him, its calm almost cruel after what lay below. He pressed play one last time on the recorder. Her final message whispered through static. Don't believe the message. I wasn't fine. The wind carried her voice out to sea, scattering it among the waves. Evan closed his eyes, realizing the truth. She hadn't been lost to the ocean. She'd become part of it. Back in his car, Evan sat facing the endless horizon. The phone on the passenger seat lit up one final time. A message received, time-stamped moments ago. It was from Lena. 2 words, I'm fine. His breath caught, half disbelief, half surrender. He looked toward the cliffs where the sea shimmered, where truth and illusion bled together. Then he smiled, not from comfort but understanding. The message wasn't for him, it was for whoever came next. As the waves swallowed the sound of his engine and the fog closed in, the screen of his phone dimmed and began to record.